20 أكتوبر الكريم.
Good afternoon. You're watching the English newscast on Future Television. I'm Linda Tamim, and these are today's top stories. Former Prime Minister Omar Karami passes away at the age of 80 after fighting a long illness. Fireworks light up the skies in Beirut and around the world as millions welcome 2015. And Maronite Patriarch Shadadai lauds the exerted efforts to launch dialogue between the political rivals to break the ice and reduce tensions in Lebanon. Former Prime Minister Omar Karami has passed away this morning at the age of 80. Karami from the northern city of Tripoli died at the American University of Beirut Medical Center after a long illness. Born in March 7th of 1935 in Tripoli, Omar Karami is the son of Abdul Hamid Karami, one of the most prominent figures in Lebanon's history who played a critical role in achieving the country's independence in 1943. Karami studied at the American University of Beirut and then moved to Cairo, where he obtained a law degree in 1956. He founded his own law firm in the same year. He is survived by his wife, Mariam Koptan, and his 4 children. Karami had a tumultuous political career which began in 1987 when he headed the Arab Freedom Party based in Tripoli after the passing of his elder brother, former Prime Minister Rashid Karami. He was appointed Education Minister in Prime Minister Salim al-Hos's government in 1989. He first became Prime Minister in 1990 and resigned almost 2 years later following popular demonstrations in what was later called the Revolution of the Hungry. Karami was elected 3 times to Parliament in 1992, 1996 and 2000. In 2004, he was appointed Prime Minister once again after the resignation of former Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri. Allies and rivals have praised Lebanon's former Prime Minister Omar Karami as a true statesman who prioritized national interests above his own throughout his political career. Former Prime Minister Saad Hariri, Fuad Senura and Najib Mikati offered condolences for Karami's passing, highlighting his honorable actions during the country's most critical times. Hariri described Karami as a symbol of moderation and a respected rival in politics. For his part, Prime Minister Tamam Salam described him as a political leader who always sought to protect Lebanon and its coexistence. Salam said in a statement, Karami recognized the meaning of Lebanon and the importance of preserving coexistence. He has always held the flag of moderation. Salam praised Karami for always placing national interest above all, supporting dialogue and deploring extremism and tensions. Mikati also offered his condolences to the Karami family, saying despite rivalry between the Tripoli politicians, the two had always had respect for each other. And for his part, Senura said the Lebanese would never forget the day Karami took responsibility for the failure of security agencies after Hariri's assassination. He said he resigned because it was clear that there was neglect by security and official agencies. He considered the security agencies responsible for the crime. Maronite Patriarch Shadadai has lauded the exerted efforts to launch dialogue between the political rivals to break the ice and reduce tensions in Lebanon. In his New Year's Day sermon in Kirki, Rai said dialogue between rival parties would end the ongoing dilemmas in the country. The Patriarch expressed hope that the exerted endeavors would lead to the election of a new head of state. He stressed that peace will not flourish between people as long as there are sides that are distorting the truth and violating justice and practicing oppression. He also noted that the state has to fully carry out its duties towards its citizens. Fireworks lit up the skies around the world as millions welcomed 2015. Check it out. Thousands of people took to the streets of Beirut to celebrate the new year amid a backdrop of heightened security and threats by the Islamic State group. Police officers and interior security forces set up checkpoints across the Lebanese capital as revelers gathered to watch a fireworks display. New Year's Eve parties were also held in bars and clubs across the city. In Dubai, the world's largest LED facade lit up Burj Khalifa alongside a spectacular fireworks display watched by large crowds. A countdown on the side of the Burj Khalifa welcomed in the new year and triggered impressive fireworks carefully choreographed with the record-winning LED display. Reports say the LED display consisted of 70,000 LED panels and was adjudicated by a team from the Guinness World Records. moving on to Europe, thousands mark the dawn of the new year with celebrations along the Champs-Élysées in Paris. The City of Lights closed off the famous avenue to cars for the first time as it hosted an official New Year's Eve party with a 3D mapping light show beamed onto the Arc de Triomphe. Seconds before midnight, a countdown clock was displayed on the monument's facade before a spectacular show of fireworks. On the other side of the Atlantic, 1 million people crammed into New York's Times Square saw the New Year in with kisses, hugs and cheers after the giant, glittering New Year's Eve ball descended and a ton of confetti rained down. Mayor Bill de Blasio, flanked by his wife and 2 children, pushed the ceremonial button that set the 11,875-pound Waterford crystal ball in motion. Revelers from around the world waving pink balloons and wearing pink foam hats exchanged good wishes and danced as Frank Sinatra's New York, New York blared on loudspeakers. Over 2 million people celebrated the arrival of 2015 on Rio de Janeiro's Copacabana beach as fireworks lit up the sky for nearly 20 minutes. The massive firework display over the Atlantic Ocean left the crowd amazed even after one of the floating platforms caught on fire for 15 minutes at the end of the show. Moving on to the Vatican, Pope Francis has urged people of all religions and cultures to unite forces to fight modern slavery and human trafficking, saying in his first Mass of the New Year that everyone had a God-given right to be free. Francis celebrated the solemn Mass in St. Peter's Basilica on the day the Roman Catholic Church marks its annual World Day of Peace, the theme of which this year is no longer slaves but brothers and sisters. Last month, in his formal message for the World Day of Peace, Francis appealed to consumers to shun low-cost goods that may be the product of forced laborers or other forms of exploitation. That message was sent to heads of states and governments, international institutions, and parishes throughout the 1.2 billion member church to raise awareness of the problem. And in Lebanon, at least 20 people survived a massive car crash on a North Lebanon highway at dawn. 6 vehicles crashed into each other on the highway in the Kalamoun village as they were headed to Tripoli. Residents rushed to the scene of the crash and began pulling the passengers out before police and nearby municipalities dispatched units to assist the injured. Several people were stuck in their vehicles for hours as police and civil defense teams tried to pull them out of the metal rubble. Only one person was critically wounded in the incident and was transferred to a Tripoli hospital. The 6 vehicles are completely destroyed. Moving on to Syria, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has visited a district on the outskirts of Damascus and thanked soldiers fighting in the face of terrorism, his office said on his Twitter account, posting pictures of the rare trip. The account said the visit took place in Jobar, northeast of Damascus, on the occasion of the New Year. The district came under heavy Syrian Air Force strikes on Wednesday, according to the Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. It showed a photo of Assad shaking the hand of a man in military fatigues. Assad is not frequently pictured in public, though he has visited troops in the past during the conflict, according to state media. Syrian state television has also aired footage of the visit showing Assad talking to troops, embracing them and sharing a meal outside. The station played a patriotic song over most of the footage. 2 women identifying themselves as Italian aid workers kidnapped in Syria have appeared in a video urging their government to seek their release. The video, filmed in mid-December, appeared online and purportedly shows Vanessa Marzullo and Greta Ramelli, who were abducted by gunmen in northern Aleppo province in August. The women, both in their 20s, are shown wearing black dresses and headscarves, seated before a blank wall. One woman holds a piece of paper with the date December 17th, though the video appeared to have been posted online on December 31st. The other, apparently reading from a script out of shot, urges the Italian government to bring them home before Christmas. The 23-second video includes no details of which group is holding the women, and no one else appears in the footage. The video was not posted on any official accounts belonging to al-Nusra, which is al-Qaeda's Syria affiliate. And coming up next, North Korea says it is open to a summit with South Korea. That and more after the break. Welcome back. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has won another term as leader of the ruling Likud party in the run-up to a snap election, easily defeating his lone hard-right challenger. General elections had been due in Israel in late 2017, but they were brought forward by Netanyahu in early December after the collapse of his coalition. Netanyahu, who has been in power since 2009, will seek to win a third straight term in office and a fourth in total. He served as a first stint as prime minister between 1996 and 1999. The results of the ballot clear the way for Netanyahu to lead Likud into battle for the March 17 election. Moving on to Asia, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un says he is open to a summit with his South Korean counterpart, days after a proposal from Seoul to resume dialogue. In a New Year's address broadcast by state media, Kim said if South Korean authorities sincerely want to improve relations between North and South Korea through talks, we can resume stalled high-level meetings. Standing in a wood-paneled room in front of a red flag bearing the crest of the ruling Workers' Party, Kim spoke for about 30 minutes to an off-camera audience and appeared to be reading from a script. He outlined the intentions of his government to further develop a series of special economic and tourist zones this year, including the Kumgang Mountain Resort, which was open until it closed after the shooting of a South Korean tourist in 2008. And now for some news around the world in brief. Mortar rounds fired during fighting between Afghan forces and Taliban fighters has killed at least 26 wedding guests in the southern province of Helmand. Most of the victims of the attack late on Wednesday in Helmand's Sangin district were women and children. Officials say artillery was fired from 3 directions at a village in Sangin district where the wedding was held on Wednesday. At least 35 people have been killed and dozens injured after a stampede broke out during New Year's celebrations in the Chinese city of Shanghai. CCTV America says the cause of the stampede on the Bund, the financial hub of Shanghai's popular waterfront area, was still unclear. Reports say at least 48 people were also injured. The bodies of 6 victims of the AirAsia disaster have been transferred to a hospital in Surabaya, Indonesia, for identification as search efforts continue. Police have collected the victims' DNA samples and asked relatives to help with the identifications. Poor weather and huge waves hampered the search and rescue operation for the AirAsia plane. Further down in Australia, well, in Egypt as well, Egypt's top court has accepted the appeal of 3 Al Jazeera journalists who have been in prison for more than a year and ordered a retrial. Defense lawyer Mustafa Naji said they will not be released until they appear before the new chamber, which will decide whether to release them or not. Peter Greste, Mohammed Fahmy and Bahir Mohammed were denied bail at the appeal hearing, as the court said the case had to go back to the criminal court.
It's about time that if Australia believes in freedom of speech, that we should shirt front these people who've made such a nonsense of it and are really holding Peter and his colleagues as hostages. They've succeeded very well in quietening down. No one criticises them. And of course they've shut down all the coverage of the Muslim Brotherhood. That's their objective, and the democratically elected, a couple of years ago, opposition. So their censorship has succeeded, and it's about time we stop this softly approach that the government has used, and certainly carpeted the Egyptian ambassador and said this is unacceptable, and the most useful thing we could do is to get President Obama, our friends in the White House, to speak out against Egypt, because they've been, for all their free speech beliefs, they've been very quiet on this one, perhaps because there's no American journalist, but we can do a lot more now, and I think we've got to.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. Former Prime Minister Ahmed Karami passes away at the age of 80 after fighting a long illness. Fireworks light up the skies in Beirut and around the world as millions welcome 2015. And Maronite Patriarch Shadadai lauds the exerted efforts to launch dialogue between the political rivals to break the ice and reduce tensions in Lebanon. Those are your top stories for today. I'm Linda Tamim, wishing you all a very happy New Year.
يجب أن يستقيل في الساعات القادمة 20 أكتوبر 2020.